One, two, test. Oop. Test. Okay, we're good. Oh, we're live. Yeah. It's going to take a little bit, though. Yeah,
Okay, just trying to make it nice and centered here.
no problem. No problem at all. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I was so excited to see you and so many other people, but I won this free ride. I got a free ride to Houston, Texas.
right. Yeah, it was super interesting because when I talked to you and I said, okay, I am going to manifest this trip to Arkansas, um, and then we show up there, and I'm like, he pulled that off, didn't he? He manifested this fantastic, amazing spot. I had been there before.
Yeah.
Years ago, I went to a festival for, yeah, it was a music festival. It's probably 10 years ago.
It's
Yonder
fun.
Mountain,
What is it?
Yonder Mountain
That was the name of
from
it?
the,
Okay.
yeah, that was in Arkansas quite a few years ago. And so I was familiar with the venue,
Yeah.
but of course, when we showed up and there's just open and wow,
That
yeah,
was, yeah, I don't know. None of it really made sense, but the guidance was so strong and the way it all happened. And then everybody's stories going to Soulogy Fest in Arkansas was crazy. It was like everybody had resistance to go, or they were having resistance come at them. And they even had resistance internally. But I had so many people tell me, I don't want to go. It doesn't make any sense, but I got to go. We got to go. So, and there's been a lot of stories, and we've had a few people on, but like energetically speaking, I know we released some old primordial energy that was stored in that mountain, to say the least, because they spoke to me, before it all went down. And then the funny thing was, what you said was like, oh, that's funny. He arranged all this, and then he took off. But I was actually on the trip going to Houston, having all this dimensional stuff happen the whole time. And one of the things that happened was I saw everybody in their true form, and I saw who they were and how we had all gathered. It was all like white light beings kind of being shown to me, earth keepers, gatekeepers, just and we planned this. It was a powerful thing. So I feel like I was a part of it.
of course.
But obviously, I had some things to do. But yeah, it was just a beautiful symmetry of even like my own experience, like on the path that we took going to Houston. Of course, this all started in Houston with Soulogy, at least the linear part of it, and yeah, a lot of closure, a lot of reconciliation. My kids and just different things, right? And yeah, so and I know from talking to other people that were there with you, even as recent as this past few days, they're telling me, hey, I'm still dealing with the after effects. Like there's a lot of deep clearing going on right now, and so yeah. But yeah, it's good to see you. It's really good to see you.
Good too, yes. So the minute I stepped a foot out of the car, so Nan picked me up at the airport and we headed straight to the venue.
Mm-hmm.
And the second I put a foot outside of the car, I felt like I was getting sucked in.
Right.
It was so intense. It just felt so grounding and so healing, but literally from my feet I was being sucked in to this, of course, this energetic force from all the crystals underneath
Yeah.
Arkansas. But it was amazing, to feel that, because for me it was planned within like probably 5 days. It all happened so quickly, and I was hearing all the stories. Ernestine, which we had been in contact with, and I didn't know much about her, but she was having quite a journey, and so many
Right.
people were having such journeys. And for me, I was just riding the wave.
Hmm.
I like from the minute I decided that I was going to go to talk to my supervisors about taking a few days off from everything, I was just riding the wave. And once I arrived, I'm like, okay, we're here and we're going to do this. It was amazing to experience lots of surrender because the ego tends to participate in all this planning and all these control issues and all these expectations. And once we figured out that you were not going to be there, it was quite interesting how all of that went down.
Yeah.
Because, of course, so many people, oh, this, and that were the expectations. Well, we are Soulogy, we are the community. And I feel like we showed up in many ways that uh, we probably would not have had the strength to do it if it wasn't for how it happened, like
Yeah.
the event that lead us to that moment. But yeah, beautiful. I met amazing people. Everything, every moment, every encounter, just so healing and so grounding to my soul.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And they only let me stay there one night. I was supposed to stay there all of really all of July, and really for like 6 weeks I was going to stay up there on the mountain because a friend was going to give me lend me an RV, and I was just going to pay for the for the pad, and but it didn't work out. And they told me later, you're not coming up here. You got to go to Sedona. So then I came to Sedona. Then I went back. I thought, well, I'll be up there for a few days, and I was only there one night. but but it's funny too because I had talked to a few people about possibly coming. One of them was Sandra Walter, and when I remember when I was exchanging messages with her, she's like, "What's going on with it?" And then at the end she says, "Well, maybe we can do something remote." And I said, "Yeah, we're working on that," which we couldn't work out because I wasn't there to do it. But anyway, the last line that she said to me, she said, "So let me get this straight. You're going to be on a mountain in Arkansas during this corridor and on top of the crystal beds." And I said, "Yes." She said, "You guys are very brave." I didn't know what that meant, but it's taken on new meaning ever since she said that to me and everything that happened. But yeah, and that's another thing. What you're saying, I've heard from other people too. And I guess the best way to sum it up is I got to watch I got to watch the MP4s, the videos. And I think it was the first night, the first real night, where Hung got up and talked. And then my daughter Isabel got up and talked, which was very moving for me. And then they handed over to Ty. And Ty got up there and he says, well, Todd always says it's not about him. It's not about him. Soulogy's about the people. And he said, I guess he's, I guess he's right. He's probably somewhere over, laughing about this whole thing. But yeah, and that's what I heard from people. I heard like everybody just kind of got stunned, I guess, because you wouldn't expect something like that. And then everybody just kind of rose to the occasion, which is very cool.
That was the part that was very healing to me because a lot of us are still hesitant about perhaps perform or share our gifts with the community. And so I think it was a great opportunity to show up for ourselves and show up for others. And this great, amazing journey that we all went to. But I feel like what is happening later is that we're having more of those opportunities to really step up and show up and really share what we're here to do. And in my experience, that has been amazing for me because I am an introvert, and what happens, we're always hesitant and questioning ourselves, and what if I sound stupid, what if I do this, what if I do that? Well, so what if,
Right.
right? What if you're not gonna bring this message that resonates with everybody? Well, it's at the end of the day is really about the love that comes from your heart and what you really want to share. And in that opportunity, I talked to one of the community members today, and we shared a moment in that short guided meditation that I was very grateful to do. And for me, is about sharing what I feel when I connect to my heart, when I connect deeply to that aspect of myself that is free from any type of idea, any type of programming. And it's simple in many ways, but it's not so simple for other people that have never experienced that. So many of us go into these journeys of psychedelic medicine, which is amazing. I have nothing against it. Uh, but we also have the opportunity to connect to the field in a natural way, and it's always available for us.
Right.
And that's what I try to convey, the message that when you're really rooted in your heart and you open your heart and stay open, and then all of the sudden you feel this overwhelming feelings of love that is not about relationships or about this love that we always try to outsource. It's just this beautiful energy that comes to you, and you just feel so loved and uplifted and in the zone. And when that happens, of course, the time is non-existent. Nothing else matters in that moment. It's just that joy that you bring into your life. And that's what I try to share with people, because I have been very fortunate to have been practicing this self-love, self-acceptance for a few years. And it's a really an interesting journey, because we get caught up in so much of the pain and the suffering of others and ourselves, and in the trauma that we all have experienced. Because I don't think there's no one on planet Earth that be able to say, oh, I have no trauma, my childhood was perfect, or I don't carry any pain. All of us do, and in our own unique ways, we do our best to not to bring all of that pain and suffering into all our relationships, into our communities. But it comes out. It comes out in the least ways that you could perhaps be grounded, and it's gonna come out when you least expect it.
Mm.
And that is what I feel we're coming to a point where we're able to connect in ways that we weren't connecting before, that we're accepting ourselves, that we're practicing every single day the joy, the gratitude just to be alive. It
Mm.
doesn't have to be this enormous happenings in our lives. Is just wake up in the morning. What are we practicing? Are we practicing anger? Are we practicing hate? Are we practicing self-pity and guilt? Or are we practicing gratitude?
Uh-oh. And while I have a chance, I don't know what happened to her, but are y'all seeing those orbs going on behind her? Did y'all see these orbs? I saw at least 6 or 7 of them. Yeah, she might have lost her signal, but she'll figure it out. I'm gonna unplug her and see if she plugs back in. Yeah, that's pretty cool, you know. Oh, there she is. Okay, we'll go back. Boom, boom. Yeah, welcome back. Hello? Uh-oh. Oh, man. She's having tech issues. Well, anytime we have tech issues, we always have a lot of energy. And I don't know if y'all saw it. Delia, you saw it? I saw several orbs behind her and one to the side of her. And I know that must have come out. I was at about the 12-minute mark is when it started, just so you'll know for future reference. Astrid, we can't see you? Okay. Maybe she's going to come back. Yeah, it's very cool. Even talking to people and listening to her, and then reflecting on what Sandra had said about that period of time, the end of August, I think people had talked about the 22nd through the end of the month. Let's see here. Hang on. Boom. Oh, you're back.
Brother.
What? Hey, you know what was happening? You were having orbs behind you.
Oh boy,
Yeah, you
really?
go back to and watch the show. Go back to the 12-minute mark, and you'll see, I would say, 7 or 8 different orbs over like 30, 45 seconds, and then you cut off. But
Oh wow,
this
interesting.
yeah, this happens. Weird things happen by the human perspective on this show when the frequency is so high. Because I think what you're basically saying is what you're also exhibiting, which is you're really just speaking from your heart. Um, I mean, that's I've said this all along, because even going back to Soulogy early videos, like spirit walks and being in the studio by myself, I was very rough around the edges, and then also watching other people come into Soulogy and do their own videos and stuff in the group. It's not about can you sing in tune or can you say something really profound. It's really just the opening of the heart expressing itself. That's what people are reading, and that's what people are seeing and finding within themselves, which is what you're exhibiting. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, it doesn't really, we think that we have to do like this huge announcements on how to be open. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
practicing on an everyday basis, when we have our interactions with other people. And perhaps, this person, it's not grounded
Mm-hmm.
today, or perhaps
Mm-hmm.
they're having a bad day. But if we remain open and we show them by example how it is to have the self-love,
Right.
and first and foremost to devote ourselves to listen to our bodies. What are our bodies asking for us to do today? Perhaps we can give an extra stretch, extra water, just so the body feels safe, so the body feels connected. And it doesn't feel like we're just dragging it along on this crazy journey, because it's a crazy ass journey,
Yeah.
like,
It's
like
the
you
it's
said.
the it's the it's the number one preferred spot in the multiverses based on many people that I've talked to that have that type of intel, like Franco. Souls are lining up to come here. They're just lining up to come here. And another thing you said too, or you were saying before you went off, that I was picking up was, isn't it funny how the more present we are, and the more love that we have for ourselves, the more love that we are, which is really just us, right? It's just us. How things start falling into place around us, to include the continuity of just life itself. It's like a conscientiousness of conscious living. That's what you're telling me. That's how I see it. Like, it's like you make it, you bring it down to the human level. You wake up in the morning. How are you feeling? Gratitude. And just actually doing these things. It seems so mundane when you consider it against the landscape of all of our multidimensionality, that it will come down to the human conscious moment that actually is the most powerful thing we can do, from not just this realm, but through all timelines and dimensions.
Absolutely. And because our emotional state create our state of being.
Hmm.
So we talk about, how to manifest and how to co-create in the new earth, but it's really our emotional state. What
Hmm.
are we feeling? And of course, not every emotion is going to be good, or, we label all of these things, but in reality is what we're practicing on our moment to moment basis.
Hmm.
Really what creates our state of being, which in return is going to co-create the new earth. And it sounds simple, but it's a practice, and
Hmm.
it takes focus, and it takes lots of energy, because we start observing ourselves, but not in a judgmental way to say, hey, you're not doing this right, or
Right.
watch what you're doing, or you're falling into your old patterns, not in a judgmental way, but rather be the observant, be the loving parent to our inner child,
Hmm.
and just to observe our actions and interactions and have the opportunity to perhaps next time that we encounter similar interactions choose differently
Right.
and practicing, because that is going to really create our state of being. And what you just mentioned a few minutes ago, um, and everything lines up in the craziest, most miraculous ways and unimaginable. And you're just like, wow, like how this stuff even happens. You know, we're purging, we're, you know, going through the ringer and our bodies are taking a hit. And I've been purging for the last, I don't know, 5 days or so. And last night, I was just laying in bed and just breathing through all this shit and all these sensations. And just like Nan and I was just laying there and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Well,
And
and the other thing too is, and I've said this a couple for the last couple of days, but it's really hit home, and you're saying the same thing. Like this whole parenting thing, this being observant and not going into self judgment or condemnation, and certainly not externalizing it, but where we would have a thought, and you would think about something, and then you go, oh wait a minute, I'm going to pull that back, right? All control delete, right? And I found that because of what you're saying, like we're all going through this stuff, and even if you've observed yourself doing something and you make the mental note, we might wake up coming out of the pits of hell and and not be ready to interact, and something happens and we we fall into the old pattern. But I found that what you're saying in regard to like the conscientiousness of conscious living, uh, in first of all owning all the human stuff, not trying to get rid of it, but being able to alt control delete words and even actions in some cases. It has a real effect. Why is it that we can go back to our past timeline and correct the timeline, which will then affect the future? Why couldn't the same thing apply here, even in the physicality? That's the way that's what's been coming into me in the last couple of weeks, is being able to remove or bring equilibrium to any thought, word, or action to the best of my ability, and then you move on. Like it's weird because it's taken on a very human. It's like the the non-physical is taken on a very human quality, and to me, it's just going to get bigger.
right. And I think what you're referring to is to pull that perfect version of yourself that already exists in the quantum field. And you can pull it in the physical form with the magnet of your heart. Because, you know, there's this infinite amount of varieties and versions of ourselves, but we, because of our programming, we tend to pull the not very aligned versions of ourselves, because we have all this programming that we've been working. Some of us perhaps have been working on these programs for quite a few years. Some of us might be new, but we keep concentrating on the density. And when we acknowledge that all of these beautiful, amazing, perfect versions of ourselves
Mm.
already exist in the quantum field, the healthier version of ourselves,
Mm.
the person that already purged and is already acknowledged and seen by the community, the one that perhaps grew up in a broken family and now is the best version of a parent for themselves, the best loving kind. So all of these versions already exist, and it's just matter of us to decompress our nervous system, to relax our body, so we're able to open our heart, and then we're able to pull
Mm.
this into manifestation, into the physical form. It's already there. So it's just acknowledging that. And we're capable, very capable, and very, very powerful
Mm.
to this such manifestations. including healing chronic illness, chronic disease. Blind people are seeing, deaf people are hearing, people are getting up from their wheelchairs, and it's all because we have to get out of our own ways and acknowledge how powerful we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot there. So, first of all, for those of you who don't know, Astrid is a nurse, and that's where my thoughts were going. And I think you kind of already addressed some of this, but just if there's anything left there that you can offer. So, as a nurse, you're obviously you're well versed in the human body and how it works and etc. Right? Um, and then you were just talking about how we're pulling this down, right? We're pulling these things down, but you said kind of, it seems like you said like kind of as a prerequisite to get that nervous system to settle down first. It sounds like in the moment or in meditation or just being in solitude and doing the work. That is that. Do you feel like that's a pretty key thing, the nervous system, and in respect to uh, the capability of these higher aspects to come in?
Yes, so those two go hand in hand, the
Okay.
nervous system and being able to open our hearts.
Mm.
So there is actually physical manifestations that happen when we relax our nervous system. Of course, the brain waves are going to slow down. We're able to go from the hyperactivity, being in the fight and flight response of the nervous system, that's high beta, that most of us are probably 95% of our awake time are on that brainwave pattern, which is very chaotic, very irrational, very incoherent. And so when we start relaxing our nervous system, then the brainwaves start doing something more harmonious,
Mm.
just like an orchestra when start playing all together. So in and then if we connect to ourselves and start cultivating the emotions like joy for life, harmony, peace, gratitude. So then our heart opens, and when that happens, there is also a physical manifestation. So oxytocin gets released from the heart, and other hormones are happening. And so, what is that energy going to do? It's going to open here at the heart, it's going to go up. And once it goes up, this creates a very coherent field between the heart and the brain. So what happens is a huge explosion, and I'm sure you have, some people call it the Kundalini awakening, some people call it just being in the flow. It could be a mild manifestation, it could be an outrageous manifestation. Some people say they feel like they have an orgasm in their brain or in their heart. Um, but that's when you're really connecting to the field, when you're able to manifest in the physical form, manifest health, manifest whatever it is that you're working with the universe to create in the physical form. And I can tell you from what has been happening to me I would say in the last 5-6 months.
Mm.
So because of the pandemic, I didn't go back home for quite a few years, and right before the pandemic, I was thinking about going back home to Guatemala to go visit my family, and I had some other ideas and what I wanted to co-create, but things just one thing after the other. So this year, actually, I had the opportunity to go back and connect to so many aspects of my life that perhaps were just lingering, but I had not had the opportunity to put the pieces together. So I went back home earlier this year a couple of times, and one of my ideas, one of my heart desires, has been to create this small venue for retreats and for for small festivals and for people to have the opportunity to decompress their nervous system
Wow.
and to create an opportunity for people to obtain the tools to work with their bodies, to work with their energetic fields, and start really creating healthier environments for ourselves, healthier choices, and of course to connect deeper to our souls. And so I had been working on that, but if it almost felt like every time that I took one step, I took two steps backwards. And it was just that type of scenario. And when I went back home this year, I had just crazy, mind blowing opportunities that presented to me, and in ways that is just accelerating the process of co creation. And one of them, I told that the community about this. I made a short trip to Lake Atitlan. Is this just beautiful lake in the middle of the country surrounded by volcanoes. And I was laying in bed that night, and this enormous amount of love just flooded me. And it felt so overwhelming. I had not felt that amount of love, and I knew it was coming from Gaia.
Wow.
I knew it was coming from the earth. I felt it. And I kept telling Gaia, I feel so grateful that you love me so much and that I feel so protected. And I felt like I was inside Gaia's belly button. I
Wow.
felt like I was in the navel. And I just kept repeating that. I feel like I am in this corner of your navel, and I feel so protected and so loved. So about an hour went by for all of this overwhelming love feelings that I felt, and finally I went to sleep. And the following day, when I woke up, I shared my experience with some ladies that were staying at the same guest house. And one of them says, well, you know that actually Lake Atitlan is called the belly button of Mother Earth.
Oh my God.
And I was just in shock because I left my country when I was a teenager, and so perhaps I didn't have the opportunity to experience that amount of love from my own piece of earth that I grew up in. And it just felt so overwhelming to connect all those pieces, and one thing led me to another. And so it seems like things are lining up for me to open this retreat center,
Wow.
and it's yeah, so I'm
Would that?
traveling.
No, I
Yeah,
was
go.
wondering. So, like, would that be? Because I mean, I don't think people realize how beautiful Central America is. But would that? Do you feel like that once you get this thing going, that it'll be more your countrymen and women coming, or people from out of the country?
I think it's going to be both.
Okay.
There is quite a bit of a community established around the lake that a lot of tourists or a lot of people that visit the country, they attend to yoga retreats or meditation retreats, lots of ecstatic dance, which I absolutely love. But I feel like it gives me an opportunity to connect to both, because obviously, I feel like so many of us are blessed with having the tools available to us, and so many people have not had the information presented to them, or they have not had downloads that all of this is available to them. So I feel like it's going to be a good opportunity to co-create with both the local community, in which I am absolutely blessed and super excited, because the villages around the lake are basically 100% native communities. And it's very, very vivid, very colorful, the
Right.
food, and everyone seems to be living in harmony.
I was gonna ask that. I wondered. Now I think I might have got a little dose. No, I can't really say that. I was gonna say in Kauai when we were in Kauai, but I wonder how that goes. You can probably speak to this. So if you're in a country or a village or a region such as you would find in Guatemala, right, where there's still a very strong uh, cultural foundation, right? Um, where it hasn't quite been as sullied as, say, Houston, Texas, or New York City, or something, like where you still have that cultural impact that's passed on through generations. It's still kind of old school, right? In simpler life too. Is it? Do you find that there is a higher percentage? And I know that what you're saying is like they may not be familiar with, Reiki or this or that terms and modalities that we have that are common in these, but maybe through their cultural evolution that they've passed on, there's still a certain balance, there's still a certain sensitivity that's encouraged, and not discouraged, less programming, however you want to put it. But do you see more people, percentage wise, do you feel that are open hearted or fewer?
I see a lot of people that are very open, and especially in the native communities because they're very connected to the land.
Right.
And obviously, for us, the corn, the maize is a sacred element of our foods, and also, the corn gods. And so it's
I didn't
very
know
unique.
that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So for us, it's if you have corn, you have tortillas, you have beans, you're good to go.
Right.
A bit of spice, and you're good to go. And it's in the way that the corn is prepared, because it gets cooked with calcium lime,
Mm.
and it gets blanched, and so that activates the protein in the corn. So when it gets taken to the mill, it's already activated, and so the nutritional value that is going to give you is not the same nutritional value from tortillas that you're getting from the store here, right?
Wow.
So it's amazing because that this generations have fed all their children with beans and corn, and very healthy, very strong individuals. And so, yeah, the communities are very, very strong, and a lot of it is connected through food, which is absolutely amazing.
I like
The
that.
Yes, right?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, there would be, if they go through that process before it even goes to the mill, there's energy there. Not only is it present energy of the people that are doing it, but I'm sure it's got to be carrying a lot of ancestral, energy as well.
Right. And it's right. It's been generation after generation through the Mayan civilization, and all these newer communities that have taken all this lineages, and the cacao is so strong in
Really?
Guatemala. Cacao is I grew up, my mom would roast the cacao beans on an open fire,
Uh huh.
and then the mill and make the own cacao patties for to make the ceremonial type of cacao, which for us this the cacao ceremony would be sitting around grandma and eating sweet bread and drinking cacao. That was the
Are you
ceremony, right?
serious? All right. So, how old were you the first time you had cacao, the strong cacao?
Oh, I don't know.
Like
I don't
five or something? Three?
probably that
God.
we
Did you get?
drinking
You probably don't. You probably have like a tolerance for
that
it.
color.
You probably take cacao, go to a cacao ceremony in the States, it doesn't even affect you.
I am sensitive in many, many ways, but definitely with the cacao, I eat every day. I eat cacao every day.
You do.
It's I do. I
You
do.
eat it. You eat it. You
Act-
don't drink it.
I drink it, but I also eat it. You know, just pieces of cacao. It just
So
for me is
it's part of your. It's part of you.
yes, it's part of me, and also the corn. It's part of me. I can completely be not eating bread, and I am okay with that. But at least I have to have some sort of corn once a week. It just grounds me. It makes me feel absolutely grateful for all foods. It just brings everything together.
Wow.
Um, yes, it's amazing. And so now I'm staying at a small organic farm up here in Santa Rosa for the remaining of my contract here in California.
Yeah, I saw a
And
picture there. It looks like you have a friend over there.
yes, my friend is growing all kinds of crazy stuff: corn, squash, pumpkins, tomatoes, lots of chili peppers. So it's been super interesting because I feel like I'm connecting a lot deeper to food here because it's just so exciting to go pick up a couple of tomatoes and make a sauce, and it's just really really exciting to work with
Wow.
that. So to me,
That's very cool.
food it's just amazing how I was raised around food and just bringing everybody together around
Well,
the table.
that's the Latino way, man. I mean, right? I mean, it's and other cultures too, but I mean, that's like a big deal. The food thing. It's a really big
Right.
deal. Like
It is
Christmas.
huge.
Like Christmas, we would have tamale parties. Have you ever done that? Where you
Exactly.
get around a table and one person gets the husk, and then the next one puts the maize on, and then the meat, and then you go all the they wrap it up. Yeah.
Yes, it was amazing growing up in Guatemala because it was not about the gifts, not about gift giving for Christmas. We never really knew what Santa Claus or any of that stuff. It was about cooking food and going to your neighbor's house and bringing the tamales that you made and
Yeah.
sharing with them, and they will share their version of tamales with you. And that's how it goes on in the whole town. I grew up in a very small town. We knew everybody. Everybody knows their names and what they do, occupation, everything. Everybody has a nickname.
Everybody has a nickname, and
Everybody has,
everybody knows everybody's business.
yes, yes, yes. So it wasn't about gift giving. It was about sharing food, which was absolutely amazing. My upbringing was all surrounded with food and just this amazing meals that my mom would cook. And my mom and my grandma would go to the market every day to get the fresh fruits, vegetables, and meat for the day. So that
That's
was my
crazy.
upbringing.
That's crazy. I went to New York City in 2016 when I first started doing this, like in the second month, third month, and I stayed with a Dominican family in a World War II apartment building in the Bronx. And and that was the craziest thing because they had like I don't even know, like five other people were living in the house, maybe six, and every day. Uh, I can't remember her name now, but the mother of the house, my friend's wife, she would go down into the street, and in the Bronx, there's a lot of immigrant, makeup, and so they had the stores, but they had the things on the street, with the fresh fruit and the fresh vegetables and the fresh fish market and the fresh meat and everything, and they didn't have hardly anything. Like they didn't have like a midnight snack in their house. Really, they might if it was, it'd be bananas. She'd boil the bananas with the onions, or you know what I mean, or do a yuca, or there's another brown one, but that's what they would do. She would go down every day and get the meals for the day, and bring them home and cook them. And I'd never seen that before. That was crazy.
That's how it was at home. And we didn't have cookies or junk food. We didn't have Doritos or any of that stuff. It was fruit and sweet bread, of course, because you eat lots of sweet bread. But yeah, It was all fresh from the day, and so that amount of love that you receive from mom cooking
Yeah.
every day
Yeah.
is irreplaceable.
Yeah. Not to mention the conscious food that you're eating, such as like where you're at, right? That's conscious food. That's carrying energy. There's intent and purity in it. And that really goes a long way. It's no different than what you're talking about with the routine that you guys had with Christmas in Guatemala. Because it wasn't the presents. The presents was the tamales and the fellowship and the energy that you're offering, the sharing. That's what I'm trying to get to. The sharing. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it
So
was all about sharing, and it was just such an interesting way of seeing life. And then when I immigrated to the U.S., and it's a completely different story.
that must have freaked you
Everybody.
out. So how old were you? 18?
Yes, I was 18, but I used to come and visit my family
Okay,
in Chicago.
oh, you went to Chicago. Holy
Yes,
crap. That's like,
yeah.
okay, so you already kind of got indoctrinated a little bit. I wanted to ask you about a country like Guatemala, or like growing up in a place like that. You mentioned the corn god. Uh, so that tells me right away that something was been passed down through oral tradition. But I also know that there's obviously there was a lot of influence from the Anglos, or the conquerors, or whatever you want to call them, the infiltrators, with religion, and a lot of areas took on that. Is it a situation in Guatemala where you practice both, where you still observe the oral traditions that have been handed down, but also there's the influence of organized religion?
Absolutely. So I grew up Catholic. My
Mm-hmm.
entire family is Catholic, and it was very interesting because as a child, I was always questioning things, and um, it, it was whatever it was. In between my family and I have had, different set of beliefs and things like that. Um, but yes, I grew up very much immersed in the religion. And when I grew out of it and I decided that I was not going to participate in organized religion and rather just participating in creating more love for myself and for others. Yes, so things are very interesting because Guatemala is very is Catholic. It's
Mm-hmm.
we follow a lot of the traditions from Spain. Like, for example, Easter, we have those big parades, the processions, and we do
Mm-hmm.
like the whole entire, with the crucifixion and all of that. So we have a lot of the traditions from Spain, which it showed me a lot of different things growing up. It gave me an opportunity to really experience different things and to be immersed in that. And then coming to the U.S., it gave me an opportunity to get to connect with beautiful people like you. Like, this community is amazing, and we come from all walks of life. And at the end of the day, what connects us is the love in our hearts. It doesn't matter where you were born,
Mm-hmm.
what you ate as a child, what experiences you had, the trauma you're still wanting to carry on your shoulders. What connects us at a deeper level is the love that we have in our hearts, and we don't even have to say anything. It's just to experience that, to be able to feel that and allow ourselves to feel that joy when we connect to the community. That is, I think, the miracle of all.
Yeah. Do you like within your family, because like if you go to certain places, it's more obvious or even more acknowledged and recognized. But like the curandera, or the grandmother that had the sight, those types of things. Do you find those things in your culture or in your family?
We did have a curandera in our hometown
Mm-hmm.
that was super interesting because she was very Catholic. She was very immersed into the Catholic religion.
Mm.
She used to narrate one of the processions with like the crucifixion. They have 13 steps for the crucifixion, and there's this whole you keep going on this parade and you make the steps of the crucifixion. And so this woman had a very special voice, and she used to do that, very active in the community of in the Catholic church. But she was also the curandera, and she would make these concoctions for pretty much anything.
Really?
uh,
Wow.
yeah, anything that you would come in and ask her about, she would make, and she didn't charge any money.
Wow.
She just had all these bottles and all these herbs, and you'd come to her house, and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'll be right back," and they will actually feed you. You'd come to their house to ask for a remedy, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, but first eat this and eat that."
I think that's a Latino thing.
And then the last thing was like bring the bottle of this tisana, like a concoction of different type of teas, and she didn't charge any money for it.
Wow.
Just this amazing soul that was there to just help
That had
heal
to
the people.
be, I mean, that person had to be very connected. Like, where did she get that information? Like, you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
talking. Did you? I don't know if you met Amanda Bloodworth. Uh, she's from Texas, Blanco, Texas. Really cool chick. She was on about 3 weeks
Yes.
ago. I got to spend some time with her, and she lived. So when we did the show, she lives on some property, and she was talking about, number one, how she let it grow free, and how the land is now giving her stuff that never grew there. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a relationship. And then I've met a couple of two, three, or four other sisters over the years that would have different herbs and different things in their kitchen, and I would always marvel, like, how do you know what to put together, you know? But there's some kind of innateness involved there, I think.
Right. And yeah, this woman, and she also did other type of healing modalities. Like if people had the evil eye, you'd come and see her, and she'll do this healing with an egg. And then when she opened the egg, you could see the eye there, the
What the
evil
hell are you talking about?
eye.
What the fuck is going on?
Exactly,
wait,
exactly.
wait. First of all, see, back where I grew up, we had the ojo. Like if you said,
I see.
so
And
you
my
know that. But what is I've heard, like my grandmother or some my talk about the evil eye. But what the hell is that? What is the evil eye?
So it is super weird because I didn't grow up having like really a lot of superstitions
Mm-hmm.
around things. But I actually experienced it with my oldest daughter.
Oh wow.
She um she's very connected in many ways, and she would go into public places,
Mm.
and she would absorb these energies
Wow.
and go back home and just cry and cry and cry for hours and hours, and you didn't know what the heck is going on with this child. And sure enough, my mom would be like, "Oh, she's got the evil eye again. Okay,
It
let's do
sounds
this."
like a
And
super empath.
yes,
I
yes,
don't know if you met Isabel, at my daughter at the.
I did. She's
She's
beautiful.
out of those six kids, she's the one like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she was the one, like she'd be in the stroller at, you know, a year old, and somebody would walk in. I won't mention who. a relative would walk in, and she would just go crazy. Like
Yep.
she would just be like, like she was gonna, come out of her skin. But she had
Yes.
that super empathic type of thing, the deep emotion and carry it, and I believe a lot of it had to do with what she brought in. But it sounds like your daughter.
Yes. And so so I would tell my mom, I'm like, I don't know anything about the evil eye. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to take care of it. And she will do it, and she'll do her prayers and things like that. And automatically the child would go to sleep. So it happened several times. One time we were in Chicago, and she loved music, loved her music. This child since she was born, I think, and she heard this drums, and so she started walking towards the where the music was coming from, and it was this group of African drummers,
Mm-hmm.
and she went right in front of them in the middle of all these people that were surrounding the group of drummers, and she just started dancing and moving her butt, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is so cute, look at this little girl, she's just shaking her butt." Sure enough, we go home that night. Oh, she could not sleep. This child had really bad evil eye.
So
And
evil eye. It sounds like I never knew this, but it sounds like evil eye is like a super empath. Like
a
you,
super, yeah.
right, right.
Yes, because for me, I was a teenager, trying to raise this kid, and all of a sudden this kid can't sleep. I don't know what to do. So I'm asking my family for help. But yeah, super empath, very, very sensitive to those type of energies.
That's
But
wild. That's always
yeah,
fascinated me. I had a what was it? A manager, a female manager on the Mexican border, one of my offices, right? And and she practiced. I don't know what is it, Santeria. I don't know if it's Santeria or one of the other ones. And a lot of people don't understand these things are actually they're not evil, right? I mean, they can anything can be used, right?
right.
But so we had to, we built houses, and so and that's a pretty kind of a, I guess one of the lower economic, parts of the country, certainly of the state, and a lot of population on that Mexican border. And so I would go to the office because they'd be like, "We need some cells, man. I'm going to come down. We're going to get some cells." And she'd be out in front of the model home, where we had the office, with chicken feet and powder, like doing, like doing incantations and stuff. And I'm telling you, that shit worked. Dude, I can't explain it, but yeah,
Super interesting, but our belief systems, of course, and also yes, because if we're working with whatever energies, and everything is energy. So yeah, and in the way my mom healed her ojo or evil eye was praying.
yeah,
And so of course, it's gonna help relax this child and go to sleep. But yeah, I grew up around that type of scenario. My childhood was super interesting. I grew up around people that went to cockfights and
right,
bullfights.
right,
It,
right.
it, it, my auntie
Yeah,
and I would stop by a truck full of these guys holding machine guns because she was dating a military guy, and they would come and pick us up, and with their bodyguards and things like that. So it was such a weird
yeah,
when I look, such a weird environment in many ways, but in many other ways it really enriched who I am now,
right.
because I look at it as we have lived so many versions of ourselves in this lifetime, and the opportunities that we have had to grow and evolve into these versions that we're creating now. It just makes us in such unique, beautiful ways.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's always, going to like the border towns in Mexico as a kid or even as an adult. Like it was always such a culture shock, not in a bad way, you know. I mean, other than like say kids coming at you with cigar boxes and begging, that was a little rough, but it was just crazy. Like even walking into a shop or walking into a restaurant, everything was so different. It's just so different. But I love what you're saying too about the whole. It's all energy, because if you look at it, whether it be whatever Curandera practices or Santeria or religion, and then of course even we know about the Catholic Church, but I got to tell you, my number one guide that's been incarnated has been my grandmother on my father's side, and I can remember her. Obviously, I've had a lot of encounters with her after she transitioned, but like I can remember her just walking up and down the hallway with her rosary beads and just like a mantra, just doing novenas. And it would be, a conscious, initiation to resolve something through prayer, and it was powerful. Like I mean, she would stand on that. She was the most strongest person I ever met. She just was a rock. But yeah, and again, it's just the in that case the ritual or the Catholicism was just the modality. It's what you do with it. It's kind of like, I look at we've all been. You were raised Catholic. I was raised Catholic till I was about 10, and I had the same thing. I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense to me. But in a local situation, you could have, because it's an energetic thing, you could have a leader or a preacher or pastor or a priest or whatever it is, or a team that's actually at a high level of alignment and producing a lot of illumination, even though it's within a structure that might not be on par with it. So that's an interesting thing, and it's interesting to hear about the culture of Guatemala and how that impacted you too. Very cool.
Yeah, and just we talk about religions and all of that, and you know, with the rosary that you mentioned, it helps so much when you do this repetitive
Mm-hmm.
mantras
Right.
and the example of the rosary to decompress your nervous system.
Right.
So at the beginning of
Mm.
my journey, I met Ama from Amrita
Oh,
Puri, the hugging saint,
right.
and she gave me a mantra. And I started reciting this mantra day in and day out, day in and day out. And that was the beginning of my journey to decompress my nervous system. Then, after I practiced this mantra, maybe for a couple of months, I started noticing that I was having like all these abilities. Like I started seeing my guides on the left side of my peripheries, and they used to be blue or purple, now they're golden lights. And so when I get excited about something, it could be food, it could be just anything, it could be music, of course, because it just my soul gets very excited with music and dancing. It's like they're right here,
Right.
and
Wow.
they explode in my periphery. So our nervous system can project different things. It can project spirits. We call them spirits, or entities, or
Okay.
things like that. We give labels, right, to all these experiences, but it's nothing but a projection of our nervous
It
system.
sounds.
It's
You're actually. I mean, for me, you're making a lot of sense because we talk about like the Heart Institute, heart resonance and the energy field of your heart, right? But that's not your nervous system. So, like as I'm listening to you, I'm understanding that the nervous system is like the receiver transmitter, right?
right.
So
Right.
you're so that's
Yeah.
I guess there's some correlation with the heart resonance, but I can see where what you're talking about, how that occurs. That's pretty interesting.
Yes, and we of course, when we practice the opening of our heart, that's key in everything that we do. But if we don't decompress our nervous system, nothing is going to get through,
Ah,
because said, it's like this big antenna, and we also have the pineal gland, that's the really the major antenna. but because we're in this state of fight and flight mode, that we're not able to receive the signal. So it's like, it's doing this weird, with the static, right? When we're not tuning in to the proper channel, and it's not getting through. It's not that it's not there. It's not that we don't know how to. Is that our nervous system is not letting the
Right.
signal through. So chanting for me was absolutely amazing at the beginning of my journey, because then I started like really calming down and started to trust my body and to start feeling safe in my body. Because
Yeah.
that was huge for me, huge, because I had a lot of trauma as a child. So anything and everything would startle me, and my nervous system was so overstimulated
Mm.
that I was not able to really sit with my body and feel safe.
Mm.
And because of that, we emit a frequency. We're not feeling safe in our
I
body,
got you.
then we're not safe in our environment, then we're not safe in the world. So guess what's gonna come to us is gonna be people that are not safe, people that are on the edge of anger or whatever. That's gonna manifest back to us, because it's not really what we are, that we transmit is it's not what we want to create in our experience. Is what we are, who we're being in the moment. That's what it gets transferred into our environment, and that's what it comes back to us. So huge is the nervous system. Breathing, we
Yeah.
forget about breathing. I catch myself all the time driving, and I'm like, why am I holding my breath? Breathe, just breathe deeply. We're able to shift any type of negative, if we want to call negative emotion, negative experience, with the breath. And I have practiced that a couple of times, that perhaps I was being threatened by energies that were very, very strong. And I practiced taking a deep breath, and just whatever came out of my mouth were words of alignment that completely shifted the experience before my eyes. And you're just like, wow, what just happened? But it's because, we're capable of doing that when we connect to ourselves. We relax the nervous system, we take a deep breath, we open our heart, then we can change everything in one split of a second.
Far out. I didn't know you had all this information. So when are you going back to Guatemala?
So I am leaving the 11th. And
Already? You're leaving.
yeah,
You're leaving 11/11.
right. 11,
Are you
11.
are you going to come
Yeah.
back?
So my plan is to start building.
Okay.
And so that's my primary plan. And I don't know when I'll be back in the States. So I am semi-retired now as a
So
nurse.
long term, you're going to live in your home country. Long term.
Yes, yes. So we're going to offer different modalities. We're going to offer regenerative medicine, IV therapy with high doses of nutrition, and we're going to offer NAD and glutathione to reverse aging, to reverse cellular damage, to
Wow.
get in the mitochondria to produce solar energy. Basically, that's what it is. So really
Cellular.
focusing a lot on creating a healthy environment from the inside out, connecting to our nervous system, connecting to whatever deficiencies we have as our bodies manifest certain health issues, connecting to detoxifying our thoughts and detoxifying our energetic fields, detoxifying our bodies. So it's going to be integrated. It's going to be an opportunity for people to really feel like they can empower themselves to make the changes that they need to do in their bodies and in their life in general.
There's two people down there that I know of that are American. One of them might be from Europe, but she's a beautiful lady and beautiful man. They're not together, but I mean, I know two people down there. So you got to hit me up when you get down there because yeah, I mean, they might be close to you, and you just got to check things out. Sometimes it's beyond coincidence. But anyway, I thought of it right now, and
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, one of them's Lawrence Wendell. I don't know if you know him.
I
He's
not
the guy.
very.
He's the
Yeah.
guy that was from Denver, and he burned all of his, driver's license plate, everything. He was driving around in Denver, and it had instead of a taxi, he had a sign that said "free" on the top of his.
Yeah.
And anyway, he got arrested 20 something times, and he doesn't use money. He doesn't have anything, and he's
Yeah.
managed to go from America to Canada, all the way down through Mexico into Central America. And the last time I talked to him, he's in Guatemala. Interesting
Beautiful.
guy. Yeah.
Beautiful. And what you just said right now, it really it kind of like provides this coding to what I'm going through right now. Is surrender.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surrender to what is happening in our lives, to whatever life is manifesting, trusting and surrendering because in my experience, I tend to go into planning and seeing these things for my future, but I get shy and I get scared, of course. But right now I am in surrendering mode, and it's just it feels beautiful to be in this type of energy because I am just trusting whatever is going to happen in my life. I am
Yeah.
throwing myself into the nothingness, no parachute and nowhere to land, and it feels amazing.
That's the way it ought to be. Because we could wake up tomorrow and it could be some big whatever. But
Yeah. Yes.
hey, it's good talking to you, and I
Thank,
love it. I
thank
love you. I love you, and I appreciate your love and support. And your fellowship all this time, and yeah, I hope that somehow or another we can collaborate with your dream down there. I mean, you never know. You never know.
Yes, the dream.
I
That's the
was,
dream. I told the community in Arkansas, you're catapulting me back to the lake, and that's what's happening. It is
yeah,
happening, and so I have no doubt that we'll get to experience something magnificent with the community over there.
wow, that sounds great. Take
Thank you,
care.
bro.
I'll talk to you later. Safe travels, and let's stay in touch. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Take
Love it.
care.
Bye
All right.
bye.